Hey guys, and welcome back to Thumb Therapy. Since no one else here at headquarters unfortunately likes anything from the lovable island Japan, I'm going to be doing the full final verdict for Final Fantasy Type-0. Alright, so first thing I'm going to dive into is story. This game is a part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis series, so that does mean that they have a lot of heavy themes relating to crystals and deities, especially tying them together. That being said, this one does take a very political and dark approach to it. There's the classic Final Fantasy trope of the four crystals embodying the four elements, protecting the four states. However, one of these states, the Militesi Empire, decided they wanted to get a little greedy and stage a full-scale invasion on all three of the other continents. However, you play as a series of students in Class 0 of a magical academy in the Dominion of Rubro. Due to the aggressive strikes, however, though, they have turned to some very questionable technologies. But beyond that, I will leave that a mystery for you guys to solve. Despite having a very traditional Final Fantasy background, this does not play out like a very traditional Final Fantasy game. As I said before, this has a very dark and emotional tone. When you get into the very gritty post-battle cutscenes, you start to see the reality of what might potentially be going on in these worlds. And from there, we will go right into aesthetic. Now that dark tone that sets this game apart is definitely achieved through the texture they put into the environment in this game. It's not only the bloodstained crumbling structures around you, but it's the particle effects they implemented as well. You see these dust clouds and trash and debris floating through the air. It really adds to the atmosphere. On top of that, the 14 characters that you play as are extremely varied, not only in terms of personality, but also character design, as well as their weapons and techniques too. Some of the weapons that you get to use in battle are obviously Final Fantasy levels of ridiculous, and the abilities only get stronger and stronger as you progress in the game. But getting more back on the topic, those moves, they look badass. Even though they have a new aesthetic, they didn't stray too far from the classic Final Fantasy tropes. They still have the same old items, summons, some of the classic equipment. They even brought Magitech armor back for this one. Mind you, it has been making a lot of appearances lately. And from there, we're gonna go right into gameplay. This game's core gameplay happens in the battle system. In terms of battle mechanics, this is not a traditional Final Fantasy game. You do not have a turn time element. You don't have to sit there and wait for an ATB bar to fill up. This game's battle system can much more be attributed to Kingdom Hearts, or I guess more recently Final Fantasy 15 / Versus 13 for those of you that are out of the loop. Like really out of the loop. You have a light, strong attack, a special attack, and then a defensive move as well. Each character has its strengths as well as its flaws, however. Some of them are more buff characters, some of them are more tanks, some of them are more DPS, some of them are more of a ranged attacker. This not only allows for you to hone in on the character that you like to play, but it allows for a little bit of variance once that character gets a little bit boring from the repetition of the actual battle system. Granted, on top of the character variation, you do have a very expansive skill tree upgrade system. However, these skills are not just passive skills. They don't just simply upgrade your stats. They're additional combo moves as well as improved special moves. These moves are not only crucial to the gameplay further in the game, but as you progress, they get more progressively badass. Now, I'm a big fan of high school dating sims. To be honest, I played them quite a bit on Newgrounds back in the day. That is a guilty pleasure I should not have admitted on air. However, the high school sim mechanics in this game just seem to feel a little unneeded. I really enjoyed the high school environment, but the fact that they put a clock on the days in between missions just seemed like they were trying to motivate you to do that extra grinding, make sure you go out and do that extra side quest, when realistically we were going to do it anyway. On top of that, once you actually leave to the real world, if you want to go on a full-on grind fest and just level all your characters for hours upon hours upon hours on end, you can stay out there for as long as you want and it'll only count as 6 hours. One thing quite a few people were disappointed with, including me, was the fact that the multiplayer function was not carried over from the PSP version that they had over in Japan. Now, normally I would have no problem playing Final Fantasy strictly single player. I mean, giving us multiplayer in a Final Fantasy game is a luxury, we can all say. But with this game, the AI unfortunately was built around having friends come in and play as those characters instead. That being said, the AI is not horrible. It definitely does do a dent on the enemy. However, their defense is not exactly the greatest. That's why they implemented the SPP feature. So instead of actually having other players jump into your battles and help you out with those, they actually just have other NPC characters that are allegedly other students at the academy jumping in and being your meat shield instead of your actual party members. They even encourage this in the support person point system, where you accumulate points just by simply using them. These points you can then use to get much better items than you could in the regular shop for generally much cheaper prices. Personally, I would have just integrated a much better AI. You had 3 years. And now it's time to give this one my final verdict. I'm just gonna give it one of these. The battle system in this game is extremely engaging, especially considering how repetitive the system could be considered. With tons of characters, a massive upgrade system, and a huge open world, this easily makes this an RPG you could lose a week to without even realizing it. Otherwise, hopefully you guys enjoyed our final verdict for Final Fantasy Type-0. Let us know what you guys thought of the game down below in the comments. Make sure to stay tuned to our Twitter or Facebook page to find out what our video is going to be released on Friday. Or if you want to save yourself the hassle, you could just press that big red button right up there and we'll just let you know right off the bat. For any other updates in the Thumb Therapy domain, make sure to jump to www.thumbtherapy.com. I will see you guys next time. A to B,